If I love wrestling and you love wrestling, then we. You're not here, you missing out. Is this show? Welcome to the We Love Wrestling spot. I'm here with those wrestling girls. I'm also joined by Danielle. Can you two introduce yourselves to me?
Hi, I'm Krista B.
And I'm Queen PR.
And as you already said, we are those wrestling girls.
As I always start off, I just want to find out, this is my first question. Why do you love wrestling, or what caused your love for wrestling?
You want to go first, P?
Honestly, it's so many things. It's so hard to answer that question, but I think one of the things is the entertainment value, of course, but there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that a lot of people don't even realize, and the sacrifice that performers have to go through. I really got into like the behind the scenes more, but I think the entertainment value and how it brings people together, and how like when you have a wrestling t-shirt on and you run into somebody and they get it, and it's like that instant connection, like there's something so special about that. Yeah, so that's just like one of the numerous reasons why.
Yeah, I have to agree with P. The entertainment value, the behind the scenes, to know and being a part of those real life moments. Like every time Evolution comes on, it's always like a tearjerker for me, for P and myself, because the day after Evolution, our first episode debuted. Like we recorded our very first episode, and now looking back, it's about to be 2 years. For me, going to my very first WrestleMania, doing the entire WrestleMania weekend from that Friday to that Tuesday. It's always those moments, and going back to reliving, like, oh my God, I was there. Oh my God, it was this. And even when SummerSlam, me and my cousin actually ended up on TV. Like there's those moments where we can go back and say, oh, like that's us. We were there. We were in that moment. We remember. It's just something that you can take with you forever. And now it's on TV and on the internet, so it's there forever.
So can you tell me how you two got together to even do those wrestling girls? Like, what's behind the name, those wrestling girls? Like,
Krista, you tell him.
So I'm answering the first part. Me and Patricia actually met through her sister, through her twin. We were writing for the same organization.
Shout out to King Letty.
Shout out to King Letty. And I think it was myself or P. One of us had said something about wrestling, and then you never know who's a wrestling fan until somebody mentions it. And like ever since then, it's been like an instant connection. So we was just like, yo, we need to start a podcast. Like Black Girl Podcast had just came out, and I'm so heavily influenced by those 5 ladies. So I was like, yo, we need to start a podcast. And we was like, okay. She was like, okay, cool. We just need to figure out a name. So the name was circulating a little bit. And I was just like, yo, we should just be named Those Wrestling Girls. She was like, nah, I don't like it.
Let's I was like, I think we need to, brainstorm a little bit more. And then something just clicked one day, and I was like, yo, Chris, this is perfect.
Right, because I was just like, our name would be mentioned regardless, whether they love us or hate us. It could go, oh my gosh, you're those wrestling girls. And it's like, ugh, or those wrestling girls. Either way, it worked. So once she jumped on board, it was just like, okay, we're those wrestling girls. And that's been our name ever since.
Okay. So you said about 2 years, well, the day after Evolution was your first podcast. Now y'all 2 years in.
About to be 2 years in, yeah.
About to be 2 years in. Is there like, what ways can they find you out here? Are you trying to get like big out here? Are you trying to just talk wrestling amongst people that you know, or what's your outlook on it?
For me, I never looked at it as starting a podcast as becoming famous or becoming big, because I feel like if you look at it that way, you will lose the value and the authenticity of why you actually started it. Like when me and P started, it was just like, yo, we know there are other wrestling fans out there, especially those who grew up in the Attitude Era. That was our main focus at first, just focusing on Attitude Era, focusing on women who grew up who wrestled in Attitude Era. And then, the Evolution started to form. And then, the ladies from NXT came about. And we was like, okay, so now we're just going to really sit here and focus on the women, because the women are really doing what they need to do, and they're really influencing everybody else. And their part in starting an Evolution also was a factor of why we started Those Wrestling Girls podcast. For me, it's never to look at the fame, because I feel like if people are only doing it for fame, then it's not real. It seems forced. It seems oh, we're going to get to a certain point and go separate ways. And then we're going to be so big, like we're not going to be humble about why we actually started it. So for me, it's never about becoming big. Like, it's nice to be recognized and to be noticed and to have feedback and, you know, I don't like calling them fans because we're all regular people, but people, supporters. It's good to have supporters. But to look at it as, oh, we're going to make money off of this, we're going to be featured. If it comes, then we're grateful for it. But that's not something that we're seeking. We're not going out looking for it. P?
I agree with you. Like, I am naturally a very ambitious person. So I am at least trying to maximize the most out of our podcast. But I think it's more in the ways of building that fan community. Like, there's something so special about that, building that fan base. You know, we always talk about Jobberteers because they were so instrumental in us being what we are, because they welcomed us into that wrestling podcast community with open arms and never once didn't provide resources and connections and all that kind of stuff. And I saw the value in that. And especially when it comes to women's wrestling fan community, I really wanted to build that and see how that can go. But because I'm very like driven and focused, me and Krista always kind of check each other, like, make sure we're having fun. Let's make sure that, you know, because that's why we wanted to start this, was because it's fun, because we're wrestling fans. We don't try to be experts at anything. You know, we're like two fans, and people, that's the feedback we get. Like, oh, I feel like I'm listening to my two homegirls having a conversation about wrestling, and I want to join in. And that means so much to us. And then hearing, you know, how the quarantine, how our podcast was an escape for people, that means more to me than fame or money or any of that kind of stuff. Like, that is, you know, when I hear 6-year-old girls, 11-year-old girls, like, you know, I've been listening to your podcast from day one. I feel like it's okay to love women's wrestling now. Like, that is what's important to Krista and I. And you can, you know, chime in, Krista, but I think that's what is really special to us.
It really is. It's never about the money for us, because money comes and goes. But if you're passionate about something, and if you know you're genuinely doing this because you're a fan, you want to just connect with that fan community, then that's all that really matters. It's never about money. Like, if it comes, then it comes. You understand? And we know, but we're not going out there, okay, so we have this podcast, how much y'all paying us? It's never about that for us at all.
All right. Patricia, you caused this. Sorry for this. I got to know, since y'all those wrestling girls, can you both answer this question? Naomi or Becky Lynch? Let's go.
He hit you with it, Patricia. Let Krista go first, because Patricia.
Nope. Sitting this one out. Not doing it. Not doing it. Not doing it. Oh man, you see?
It's just a choice. This is a safe spot.
Hard. Like,
this is a safe area. Ain't nobody gonna hold.
No thing.
If I had to choose, if I really truly had to choose, I would have to go with Naomi. If I had to choose, but that 2018 Becky was so instrumental in like that passion reignited in women's wrestling. So it's hard.
It's super hard. Like, I wish you would have said Becky or Sasha, because I was Becky regardless. That was
right. That's easy. A little easy. Ooh, no, it's not. No, it's not. It's not easy.
It's easy for me, but oh man, I don't know why you're doing this to me. Like, Naomi or Becky. Can I just say both? Can I answer both? Is that an answer?
It's on you, Danielle. I'm
I'm gonna tell you, Krista. I'm gonna tell you, when you said what you said about Sasha, Terry already had checked out. Terry's a very big Sasha fan.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
So at this point, I mean, you know, we're gonna respect if you choose to stay neutral. Totally get it. Totally understand.
She brought like Sasha in, like it was no cause to bring Sasha up like that. You know what I'm saying? It was two people.
I mean, you threw out a monkey wrench in that whole. Like,
hey, Patricia caused it. You know what I'm saying? That's the only reason I brought it up. The other day, she caused this for y'all, so I apologize. You know,
you gotta have a sideline talk.
Yeah. And I like how I chose, but Krista was able to not choose. I just want to put that out there.
Listen,
when she said the Sasha thing, I checked out. Then she said,
right.
You already know, P. Like, you know, so I really can't. Okay, all right.
It's fine. Okay. It's fine though. It's just a conversation. So I think one question I just want to Terry had asked something similar. I just wanted to have you guys elaborate on it just a little bit. When did you start loving wrestling, right? So a lot of us are like lifelong fans. We have people who are one of our founding members who's on our team. She actually liked it in the beginning. She kind of took like a hiatus. So now she's back getting into it. So she feels like a new fan, even though she's been a fan since really young. So like, where do you guys fall? Like, you know, individually, like, did you like it from young, or did you really start really start liking it in the last 3 or 4 years, or like where do you stand as far as
I was literally just watching Attitude Era videos on YouTube. Like, that's where I started it from. And anybody who knows me knows it, between me and P is like Rock and Austin. I'm Rock, she's Austin. That's just what it is. But no, I've been watching since the Attitude Era. My brother put me onto it at the age of 6, Survivor Series, doing the Rock debuts. You know, I was happy when it came on like 2 weeks ago. And yeah, just like your friend, I kind of fell off like around 2002, from like 2002, 2000, and I want to say 11, 12 is when I was like kind of on and off. Like, I will only generally watch clips when I know that The Rock is going to be on it at that time. Like, I didn't watch it any other time. And then, you know, once the women started to come up and be like, I'm like, oh, wait, they doing stuff that the men were doing. Let me see, you know, how this evolves. And lo and behold, we here. So that's how I truly fell in love with it. I fell in love with The Rock, the whole Simone dynasty, the culture of Simone wrestling. That's me.
It was honestly the same as Krista. Ever since I was like 6 or 7 years old, it was like my family and we watched it every single week. I was a huge Austin fan. Like, anything he did, I was like obsessed with it. So as soon as he started dwindling down, it's kind of when I lost interest. And I started high school, and I was just like, you know, I'm like way too cool for this. I'm into Harry Potter now. So, and then in my early 20s, like, I completely fell off of it. And then it wasn't until the network came out, and then I was dating someone at the time that was still into wrestling. He got me into shoot interviews, and I got into all the documentaries on the network. And I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. I started watching Total Divas, and I was like, okay. I saw Naomi, and I was like, okay. But I still wasn't watching it weekly. And it wasn't until the Money in the Bank ladder match when what's his name, won Carmella. And I was like, the first Money in the Bank ladder match, and the man is going to win. Oh, no. And then Daniel Bryan tweeted that there'll be a rematch on SmackDown. And then I watched SmackDown, and ever since then, I watched literally every single week ever since then. And then I met Krista, and then everything kind of just like fell into place.
Oh, that's a great thing. You got anything else, Danielle?
No, I think that's it. Like, you know, I will say that it's funny how one of the underlying tones of all of these spots that we've done over the past couple of weeks has been how wrestling has brought a group of people together, right? And even more specifically, maybe 2 or 3, you know, people closer, where it's like, you know, we just met maybe at an event or through wrestling, and like now that's my best friend, you know. So I just actually love that. Like, we all love wrestling, and like you tend to like love some of the people who are around you, right? Because you love wrestling. So I love to hear those stories. So I just want to say thank you guys for sharing that with us. And
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys taking the time out. Do you have anything else?
Before we go out of here, can you tell the people how to get in touch with you guys to listen to your show or just watch your show?
Yeah, so we are on Instagram, Those Wrestling Girls, Facebook, and our Facebook discussion group, Those Wrestling Girls. Twitter is T Wrestling Girls. We're on Patreon. We're on YouTube. Subscribe to our Patreon. Proceeds of 50% of our proceeds, P, you can correct me if I'm wrong, will go to Black Lives Matter movement. We stand strongly behind those movements. You know, it affects us every day. So that's where we stand with that. So you can follow. And on Twitter, you can also follow our personals. Miss_Krista B on Twitter. She's Queen PR, Queen 3_PR on Twitter. And for Instagram, I'm Miss Chrissy, and Patricia's Instagram is the same.
Well, they told you how to reach them. It's Those Wrestling Girls. You may get an announcement about something later, but like I always say with Danielle, if I love wrestling and you love wrestling, then we love wrestling. Too sweet for the culture. For more information, go to WeLoveWrestling.com.